welcome to our inaugural episode of the Old School with a K movie club. I am Sean Patterson, and I'm joined with my friend Kevin Levine. He's the movie guy that I know. Kevin, what you been doing this week?
This week I had been focusing on marathoning all of the Edgar Wright films as well as the Despicable Me films leading up to the releases of Baby Driver and Despicable Me 3.
So you went and saw both of those this week, didn't you?
Yeah, I just got back from seeing Despicable Me 3 this morning, and as a huge fan of the franchise myself, I was extremely disappointed. This one had a bit of an identity crisis, doesn't know what kind of movie it wants to be and what story it wants to focus on within the movie, which got pretty obnoxious at times. And some of the new characters they introduced in this movie are really annoying as well. The older characters from the other movies, Gru, Lucy, the girls, the minions, they're all still fine, but the new characters are really obnoxious.
There's a little review for you. What about,
Yeah.
You said you were talking really, really highly of Baby Driver before we started. What else? What do you think about that one?
Baby Driver is my favorite movie of the year so far. And I have seen 60 new movies this year.
I told you he was a movie guy.
Yeah. Baby Driver is not what it seems it is. It seems like it's going to be another crime and car chase kind of action movie, which it is, but it's also a musical in a way. It's not a musical in like the sense of La La Land where they break out into song and dance. It's more that everything that's happening in the movie is set to music that the main character, Baby, is listening to. And all the car chases are choreographed, the gunshots, the fights, they're all set to a beat. And the music in the movie is what makes this, in my opinion, a perfect movie.
That sounds really, 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 really cool. That makes me even more intrigued than I was about the movie.
And it romanticizes Atlanta the same way that La La Land romanticized Los Angeles. So I think of this as like La La Land meets Drive, the movie with Ryan Gosling from 2011, I think it was.
Interesting.
So a couple of Ryan Gosling movies put together and you get Baby Driver.
Nice. But anything else that you've watched this week? Not necessarily new release stuff? Doesn't have to be movies.
Anything else that I've watched this week? No, it's just been Edgar Wright movies and the Despicable Me franchise leading up to those new releases.
Oh, okay. Gearing yourself up. And this week I haven't really watched any movies lately, but I went in deep on Westworld this week. I marathoned that entire series, so feeling a little bit weird and stuff because that's a weird show and it takes you through a lot of twists and turns and makes you think about a bunch of things, and it's just completely weird.
I've heard that is a TV show I haven't gotten into.
Have you seen anything of it, or you just haven't had
I haven't. I don't do a whole lot of TV show watching, unfortunately, since I watch so many movies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a TV show guy. I think you're more of the movie guy, so I do like watching me some drama on TV, especially when it has interesting twists and turns and stuff that makes you think a little bit. But any new releases that you're looking forward to coming up?
There's another movie that I'm seeing either tonight or tomorrow called The Beguiled.
I haven't even heard of that one. What is that?
It is a Southern Gothic thriller film directed by Sofia Coppola that stars Nicole Kidman, Kirsten Dunst, Elle Fanning, and Colin Farrell.
That's a pretty star-studded cast for something I've never even heard of.
And I've got a couple of friends out here who have had the opportunity to see it early and gave it some really rave reviews, so I'm excited for that one. And then looking forward to next week, another small film called A Ghost Story that stars Rooney Mara, Casey Affleck, and it's directed by the guy who directed the live-action remake of Pete's Dragon last year. So I'm excited for that one. It's more of a grieving kind of story, and seeing how one person deals with the loss of another person. And another really, really small film called Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yep, that is next week as well. So those are the next 3 theatrical movies on my list.
I heard from the non-spoiler review on Collider Video that Spider-Man: Homecoming is finally a Spider-Man we can enjoy.
That's what I've heard too, and I've also heard that there's some really high praise for Michael Keaton as the villain Vulture.
Yeah, but I mean, Michael Keaton's Michael Keaton, so he's going to be great either way.
Yeah, Michael Keaton's great in everything. And people were unsure about why choose Vulture as the villain, since it's one of the lesser Spider-Man villains in the comics.
It's different, though. I mean, it's not like the same, like, Green Goblin,
It's
Doc
different,
Ock.
But I'm hearing this is the best Spider-Man villain that we've had since Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2. And he's not up to par with Loki, but he is one of the better villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's really, really high praise. That's
yes.
I'm really excited to go see that one, but I have to see like kind of the new releases. I still have not seen Wonder Woman, and I've heard that might be like the best DC movie of all time, better than The Dark Knight. So
no, that's too much praise for it.
Really?
It's the best movie in the DC extended universe that started with Man of Steel a few years ago.
Yeah.
It hasn't had a whole lot of competition. It's not hard to be better than Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that's true.
But
I've heard some pretty high praise about Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Wonder Woman is fantastic. It's just not up to par with the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy.
Okay.
It's a step below that. It's the Dark Knight trilogy is one of those perfect trilogies, in my opinion.
Well, see, I really liked The Dark Knight, but I liked the first and third installment, but the Dark Knight like sets itself apart from every other superhero movie, in my opinion, just because
the Dark Knight should have been nominated for Best Picture, but that was back when they only picked 5 movies for that category instead of 10.
Yeah, and I think mainly the reason Dark Knight was so good is like Heath Ledger's performance was so like transcendent and kind of like redefined what superhero movies were, because before then it was like all not necessarily silly, but it wasn't like Oscar level, you know.
Exactly.
So I'm looking forward to seeing the Wonder Woman. I want to see Spider-Man, obviously. That's coming up in next weekend,
July 7th.
So maybe we'll talk about that on next episode, kind of an early review of that. And me and my girlfriend were wanting to go see The House this weekend. And I know you're not particularly enthused about seeing The House in theaters, because, I mean, most comedies you can kind of wait until they're out in DVD.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if you give me a good comedy with some depth to it, something like The Edge of 17 from last year, I'm all for it. But this one just looks like another shallow, everything is surface level kind of comedy where you just go in and turn your brain off.
Yeah. I came out of watching Edge of 17 movies. Like completely like, what just happened to me? I was not expecting that at all when I went and saw that movie.
Exactly.
Moving forward though, since it is our inaugural episode, it's going to be a little bit shorter than usual because what our idea is here is we're going to take classic movies that me and Kevin hopefully have never seen before. If one of us has seen it and it's been a long time or something like that since we've watched it, we can take a look at it. But we're going to go through old classic movies and maybe even some newer ones that we have just ended up missing that have been like revered and kind of held up to like this super high standard of movie making and stuff. Yeah. And we're going to go back and like see if it's like stood the test of time. Like, is it just nostalgia that's making people say that? Like remembering the good old days of the 70s and 80s? Or is it like actually, you know, that good?
Yeah, this is going to be a fun little series to work on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of classic movies and some very highly revered movies in history that I have not seen, and I know it's going to surprise a lot of people how many of them I haven't seen.
Yeah, I mean, I like this first selection. I'm not going to reveal it quite yet, but like this first one that we're going to be doing, like people are going to be like, "You've never seen that movie? What are you talking about?"
Right? I don't know if we should reveal that until the beginning of our episode next week.
What, the movie?
Yeah.
No, I think that I want to reveal it this episode, so people, if they are like listening to us and stuff, they can watch it and then listen to our review of it next week.
Exactly.
But
I'm all for it.
Yeah. So the way it's going to work is it's going to work like a book club. So we have a movie instead of a book that we're going to be watching for the next week, and then the week after we introduce it, we'll go into like a review and what we think about the movie. If it holds up, we'll go through a few categories of like reviewing it, and then we'll introduce a new movie, and it'll keep on going from there and there and there. It'll just go until we get bored of it. And I don't see that happening anytime soon, because you said there's a lot of classic movies that you've never seen that are held so highly. I would say most classic movies I have never seen. Like, it's a very short list of classic movies that I've actually seen.
Yeah, I mean, my love for film has... I mean, I've loved movies for a long time, but I've really only started getting into reviewing them and talking about them over the past year and a half or so. So a lot of the movies that I've seen have been newer movies that keep coming out in theaters. I've managed to not ignore, but just I haven't gotten around to some of those older classic movies that every cinema fan should see.
Yeah. And that's what the point of this is. Like, we're both like fans of movies and stuff, but we want to get the whole depth of, what's come before. What do people like? When people review movies, they often go back and compare them to other ones. And we don't really get those comparisons if we've never seen the movie. So this is kind of us just like refreshing our knowledge, just like a study of old classic movies. And for this first episode, the inaugural Old School Movie Club, we are going to go back and watch a 3-hour classic called The Godfather.
Yes.
The Godfather, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, which is actually a name that, like, I didn't know who directed it. And when I was going and doing the research for this, I thought I would see like a big name, like from the 70s directing it. But I mean, Coppola might be a big name, and I just don't know.
Yeah, if you give me a second, you keep talking, I'll find his filmography.
So, The Godfather, with huge stars: Al Pacino, Marlon Brando, James Caan. I mean, it's the first part in a 3-part series, which, again, I did not know that it was a 3-part series. I knew that there was a part 2. I didn't know there was a third one. We're going to probably go through all 3 of them. And also did not know that it is a 3-hour movie, 2 hours and 58-minute runtime, 1972. It's got a 9.2 on IMDb, 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Roger Ebert gave it a 4 out of 4. So this thing has got some pretty big shoes to fill, and I hope it impresses me. I hope it like holds up to all these reviews and stuff, and it's not just nostalgia. I'm pretty sure it will, like just the way people talk about it, but it's gonna be exciting for us to go see this.
Yeah, and so outside of the Godfather trilogy, he's also directed Apocalypse Now, Rumblefish, The Outsiders.
The Outsiders is a good movie.
And I just found out he also directed the Captain EO 3D show that showed at Disney parks.
Oh, you love Disney.
I do love Disney.
Have you ever seen that?
I have seen Captain EO. That is a fun little 5 to 10 minute 3D adventure with Michael Jackson.
Huh, interesting. So what is your initial, like, going in, what do you expect from The Godfather? Based on everything that you've heard in the past, and people talk about The Godfather all the time.
Well, there's a website that I use that also has an app called Letterboxd, and I use it to track my movie watching activity and write my reviews. And The Godfather is, I believe, the highest rated film of all time on this app.
I think The Godfather is the highest rated film, like, on everything.
Just in general. And that's what I keep hearing from people who have seen it. It is perfect. It's the best movie many people have ever seen. It has a 4.6 out of 5.